What's the focus? Pop culture, movies, and TV news. What's the focus? What's the focus?
You're awful!
The preceding joke was brought to you by Men. We don't know what we did.
This is Ryan Kerrigan with WTF, What's the Focus podcast. I'd like to officially announce my co-host, Matt Kerrigan. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to actually break down Avengers Endgame. The first portion of the show is going to be non-spoiler review.
Oh, I thought this was Sisters.
Sisters, Tina Fey.
Amy Poehler.
It's a great movie, but we'll talk about that one in a different
John
time.
Cena, actually, too.
My safe word is don't stop. But anyway, first part of the show is going to be non-spoiler review, and then the second part at the end is going to be a spoiler review. So just hang tight. We will get going right after these messages. WTF What's the Focus podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Okay, welcome back. Thank you again for joining us.
Do you guys like those messages? Very positive.
Very positive messages. Very positive. So we're going to just kind of dive right into more of the non-spoiler, like I said in the beginning, review of Avengers Endgame. Really starting off kind of just emotions. A lot of emotions in this movie.
Yeah, lots of emotions.
Lots of emotions.
Start to finish, too.
Start to finish. So I'm just kind of start off by asking you, Matt, if you had to describe this movie in really just one word, which is tough, I know.
One word, right off the top of my head, probably exhausting.
Yeah. I know. It was like watching multiple episodes of Cops. Everybody was super sweaty.
Seriously.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'd say fulfilling.
Yeah.
I'd say I got a lot out of the movie that I was hoping to get. Some things that we'll break down a little later on in the episode that I didn't, but those are all very much nitpicks. But I would say fulfilling.
So you're fulfilled in the way that not only it bled from Infinity War, but ended as Phase 4, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, it did everything I was hoping it would do to close out a almost 12-year story. So I was very, very pleased with it. What did you think of just kind of the character building aspect of the movie?
I thought that was definitely a main point of the movie itself. A lot of dialogue, a lot of good throwbacks to the older movies, a lot of good one-on-one time with a lot of characters. I think all the main characters got their just reward in the entirety of the movie. Yeah, I didn't feel like, especially from the original Avengers crew, the people that were unsnapped from Infinity War, I think they got all appropriate film time, along with the other characters that weren't in Infinity War, guys like Ant-Man and Hawkeye. I feel like I was definitely brought up to speed in their storyline and set up, pretty nicely for what the future may hold for those guys as well.
Yeah, and they just do such an excellent job on casting in general. I mean, These people, like I said, who've been together for almost a decade, they just complement each other so well and are able to now build those relationships over those years and really feed off of each other as actors, which is very apparent on screen.
Right, and you can tell they've been playing these characters for a long time. I mean, the biggest transition you're going to see is, the effects emotionally, the toll on the team that the snap had, and the biggest transformation you also see is probably from Hawkeye himself. I mean, the guy wasn't in it in Infinity War at all, and then he goes through quite the transformation to even at times rebuild or rebrand in his image as well.
Now, this movie is a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, which 96. If anybody pays attention to Rotten Tomatoes...
Step up your game.
It is a very hard thing to accomplish.
I don't even think Captain Marvel was anywhere close to that.
No, I wouldn't imagine
It's
so.
a great movie, but in comparison, you can't really touch it.
No, and the Russo brothers had a huge job in this thing. I still find it blows my mind that the Infinity War and this movie were filmed at the same time. So, and having even like just bit characters not spoil anything. I mean, it's been at least 2.5 years since they actually did principal filming on this thing.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, and Infinity War came out a little over a year ago now.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's amazing that those characters, even none of those actors, producers, writers, didn't give anything away. I was still happily surprised in a lot of scenes in this whole entire movie.
Yeah, and speaking of, I mean, there are so many scenes in this movie that, I mean, like we said in our previous podcast, we really did only get the first act from a majority of those shots in those trailers. I mean, they didn't give away hardly any big surprises, spoilers. I mean, they really kept it under wraps.
I feel like, the whole storyline. I mean, every prediction that I saw, I mean, I don't think really anybody got it 100% right. I think everybody maybe got it 10-15% right. You could see where the storyline had to go, but the way it went, I think, I was happily surprised.
Well, I will give you props, Matt. You got multiple scenes correct from
It's a guessing game, but when it came down to it, yeah, I mean, like it's you could see, again, you could see where it had to go, in a sense, but again, how they got there was still very rewarding to me.
So overall, you would say this movie is, if you had to rank it, just 10 being the highest, 0 obviously being the least.
I was going to go with -1. No,
That can't be right.
10 out of 200. No, it's. I would definitely give it a solid 9. Just in the realm of it was a wrap up movie, and similar to origin movies, you're never going to be 100%. Or at least in my mind, I'm not going to be 100%. Okay with it, because I just want to see more. It's more like I'm just sad that it's wrapped up and I will no longer possibly see characters.
Speaking of time, whoever was concerned about a 3-hour movie being too long, I couldn't tell you that was 3 hours. Once I got involved in that movie, I mean, it was over in a blink of an eye for me.
I would say I'd call it a snap of an eye.
Yeah, and then at the end, it was more like, wow, there was so much information, and I'm trying to recall as much as possible. But until I truly go in and watch it 2 or 3 times, I'm never going to be able to pick up 6, 7 times. I'm not going to be able to pick up everything. But within the time frame, like I said, 3 hours, 2 minutes, it was a breeze. Other than the fact that we both had to get up.
Still, give me an intermission. Movie theaters, give me an intermission. And no more trailers. That's my soapbox. No more trailers, give me an intermission. This thing was 3 and 20 minutes long or something.
You did go off about trailers.
I will continue to.
Yeah.
I've seen it all online already. I don't need to see anything. Just get to the movie.
So just for you guys as viewers, or listeners, listeners?
Doesn't make any sense.
Eventually viewers. That's where we plan to go to. But regardless.
Camera ready?
Oh, man, only my right side. But what my cousin has a huge problem with is trailers in the beginning, because obviously we see all these trailers. I mean, they're on iTunes trailers, they're on IMDb. I mean, on every YouTube. I mean, really any internet platform
anymore.
Yeah, there's very little surprise.
Just get to the film. But yes, we both had to use the restroom, so there's no way to plan accordingly for this sort of thing. But
all we will say is New Jersey. We're not. That's not a spoiler. But if you guys need to use the restroom and you have not seen this movie yet, New Jersey.
Right. Probably the best point to get up, run, by the way, don't walk.
And if you're going with somebody at the movie theater, just have them fill you in. I mean, hopefully it's just a quick trip, but that was the ideal time. That's the time that we both went, and we didn't miss anything of importance. So,
but again, this was the first time we saw it, so everything we have to say is it's almost this. It's like I'm making things up now in my mind. I'm like, did this actually happen? I have to see it again. I can't remember this right.
You made this movie way cooler.
Seriously. But no, all around, it was an excellent wrap up. I do definitely have to see it again. There's a lot of emotional highs, a lot of emotional lows. I
teared up. I mean,
didn't feel like
happened.
It lagged at all. It's certainly the pacing felt right.
Yeah, no, they just did a wonderful job. So that's it for our non-spoiler review. Again, we are very vague. We don't want to give anything away. We're definitely not those type of people that want to ruin it for anybody else. We want you to enjoy it with fresh eyes.
The Titanic sinks!
Wrong movie. But 3 hours long.
Benjamin Button dies.
Nobody has time for that.
Nobody's got 3 hours.
Nobody. Okay, so the next segment is kind of fun. We're going to go through and not in any kind of particular order, but we're going to go through some of the things that we saw in the trailers leading up into Endgame. And again, spoiler warning.
Spoilers.
So, yeah, so if you have not seen the movie, this would be the time to go ahead and turn this off and pick us up right after you actually watch the movie, and then you can check us out. But regardless, we're going to go into it. Some of the scenes that we saw in trailers, do you have anything on the top of your head that you saw that was kind of surprising or just took you...
Well, there was the whole speculation of when they were outside looking up in the sky that somebody was missing.
I thought for sure somebody was CGI'd out of there.
Yeah, somebody like Marvel or Hulk. It was nobody. That was
I just
a true
thought they were
scene.
so much closer. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I mean it's so the misdirections that weren't there. Nobody was in that shot. The Hulk was digitally entered into things later in the movie from the trailers.
Yep.
Particularly with Rocket walking through that doorway,
Leading into Thor's hut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't really think of any other misdirections that they really had when it came to the trailers. Because, again, the trailers were perfectly done where they were only the front 20 minutes, maybe a glimpse at Thanos there towards the end.
Yeah, you really can't give enough credit to the Russo brothers for putting what they did together.
Every trailer should be done that way. Every trailer should give you a hint of... And from here on out, I mean, I'm including even like the next Star Wars movie coming out. It's like, don't give us too much. In fact, give me some sort of misdirection. I do now enjoy that. It gives me something to talk about, like this.
Now, would you agree, and I'm jumping forward a lot, but I have no idea where we're going after this movie now.
No, and
as anybody knows...
That's a nitpick of mine.
No post-credit scenes. Sound effect at the very, very end. Just kind of more of another tribute to Iron Man, which is, I'm all for it. It's great. But I have zero direction of where these now next movies are going, and we do know that we are going to get some kind of direction as soon as we are able to go in and see Spider-Man Far From Home, which I'm guessing will then at the very end have an end credit scene, possibly leading to whatever our next saga is.
All right, well, there's some of the major spoilers kind of out of the way. Some of the biggest things I loved were the Professor Hulk, obviously, is in it. And just right away, there is no origin story to Professor Hulk. They do a great job of just being like, we're just going to dive right into this character. We're not going to spend much time on it. They probably could have. I would have enjoyed it. Probably would have been a very fun scene.
I like that they didn't.
Again, didn't need to be a waste of time in the movie. The movie was already had so much to do. I would have liked it, sure, but they didn't have to do it, and it was kind of nice. Like, boom, he's just there. There's nothing backstory to that.
Yeah.
Fat Thor,
Lebowski
Thor,
the big Lebowski Thor was one of my favorite parts of the movie,
and I think one of the best reveals outside of the big set piece at the end. But yeah, that original, seeing Thor all big, is just drinking beer with Korg and Meek, spoiler, alive and healthy, still joking around, just playing a bit of Fortnite.
Playing a little Fortnite, talking a little bit of trash.
talking trash, just some 16-year-old kid whose parents were probably dusted.
He'll fly over there and he'll shove something up that guy's butt.
Super sad story now I think about it.
I feel bad for the kid. We all just sat around and felt bad for him.
That was an excellent reveal that they didn't have, because in the trailers you just saw Thor with Stormbreaker.
Sure.
But yeah, obviously that was a misdirect there. They did a very good job of that reveal.
And again, another kind of what he's referring to is at the very beginning of the movie, and what we actually talked about in my first podcast with Matt, was the fact that they were going to go right off the bat and find Thanos and go there and whoop his ass and possibly kill him. And that's exactly what they did. And
I'm jumping around here.
Let's just say that Thor did go for the head, as he said.
Thor did go for the head.
Yeah. So
first he went for the hand and then went for the head.
Yeah. He had to cut off multiple limbs. He was pretty pissed off.
Opening up the storyline with having Thanos using the stones to destroy the other stones, I think it was a good way to have to set up the time travel. Because in previous theories, it was, do they have to go back and get their own stones? Do they have to go back and recharge the stones?
Sure.
But having to go back and having just the stones destroyed, I think made sense in that realm of the time traveling that had to take place.
Yeah, and the character build with Thor was one of the more interesting ones for me, too, because, he got to kill Thanos, which is what he wanted to do, but he also got nothing out of it, which actually...
Very depressed Thor.
Yeah, it brought on his character in the next act, a couple acts, and what he was going to be like, because even though he did something, he was still missing everybody. He won, but he didn't win. He won the battle, but not the war.
Right, exactly.
So to speak. So
everybody felt definitely very helpless in that first
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes. And then especially after they just go kill Thanos right off the bat very easily and find out that there's nothing they can do when it comes to helping the people that were snapped.
Yeah, and I think that his progression just as a character, Thor, not even just within the Infinity War to this, but just where he started off in Thor 1 and then the Dark World and then leading
Great homage to the Dark World in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they just did such a great job of repurposing his character and now making him really a comedy character. Somebody who could still whoop ass and go crazy and defeat really anybody when he's, well...
But also not incredibly invincible, too.
Not invincible, that's what I was going to say. He's no Captain Marvel.
He's no Captain Marvel, which, yeah, she's again, another mini nitpick of mine, but we can get into that later.
Sure. Sure, but yeah, he does such a great job. He's a funny character. He builds off the Guardians of the Galaxy so incredibly well in this movie. You definitely see him and Rocket still have that very funny... witty banter back and forth.
Yeah, Valkyrie's still alive.
Valkyrie's still around. Yeah, we got to see her.
They're just They're just fishermen. They're just up there doing Deadliest Catch. It's probably going to be on the next season.
Yeah, is that why I saw a familiar face? What was that movie? Perfect Storm.
Oh, interesting, Atlantis.
That's why I saw George Clooney out there on the dock. No. Yeah, Valkyrie's alive, so we didn't see her at all in Infinity War. We knew she escaped actually from Thor's ship with at least half of the remaining crewmates. So we got to see a little bit of what they've been doing and building kind of up their new Asgard, and that's a very interesting premise. So we'll see later on, really, I guess, in Thor's next movie if that has any more to go towards it. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be any significant things leading into that.
You might hear it mentioned, like the Disney Plus stuff, too.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they might even do a Valkyrie spinoff or something. Regardless. Okay, so kind of got into Thor a little bit. Great character, one of my favorites. We talked about Professor Hulk. Again, very quick intro into that. Didn't have to do a lot of explaining, and then he held, obviously, a very important role within the movie. Not a lot of people know about quantum physics.
No. So the character they open up on is Hawkeye. Hawkeye and the family. The scene in the trailers, him and his girl, bow and arrow, all disappear in that moment.
Heartbreaking.
He's running around the field just looking for any evidence of where they are, and clearly they are just gone and dusted. He then pops up after they go and kill Thanos. You get a time jump. About 5 years. It is exactly 5 years.
5 years, yep.
And Black Widow is still looking for him, but War Machine is actually the one out looking for what he has become, who is Rowan. He's around... Ronan, excuse me. Yeah, Rowan's your boy's name. Anyhow.
Yeah, that's your godson's name. It's not a bad name.
Hope he doesn't become a murderous psychopath with a sword.
They're all bad people. I support my son in all of his endeavors. It's fine.
Life's a river. But no, so they open up, they come back with him, War Machine telling Black Widow that, he found a gang of Mexicans down, and just the way they were brutally killed. We all know who it was. You know who it was. And
oh, yeah. And you see the emotion in Natasha's eyes, too. Obviously, this is not the person that she's really known. Mm-hmm. He's definitely changed because of the events that happened, which, again, is very relatable. I don't see a normal person going through... They were
very close. So, yeah, they were the closest, probably, Avengers when it came down to relationship and past history with one another. They've had previous S.H.I.E.L.D. missions.
Yeah.
Again, they even in this one mentioned Budapest. So they have a lot of caring between
them.
I think
Budapest is very much going to play into her prequel. I think we are going to see the Black Widow movie prequel. And I think we're going to see Budapest. Now it's been mentioned not only within the first Avengers, they mentioned it again in Captain Marvel when Nick Fury said he did some work in Budapest, and I think that's, again, referring to some kind of play within that.
Sure. No, that's probably a good call. And that can be speculated at another time when that synopsis officially comes out.
So let's do the biggest spoilers of all going into Natasha.
Well, let's hold back for a second. Let's just stick to the first 30 minutes of this film. So the first 30 minutes is also Stark being easily brought back down to Earth, being saved by Captain Marvel.
Yes.
There was no other Like, Stark didn't figure it out himself. Looks like they tried. Looks like they spent some time, but they both failed. Him and
They
Nebula
were trying to delay the inevitable.
both failed. And yeah, just it feels like kind of out of nowhere. And again, that's another nitpick, and maybe that's just more on the writing for Marvel herself.
And man, did they do a great job making Robert Downey looks just
sickly.
sickly. I mean, just his coloring, his size, I mean, everything. I mean, you could tell he was literally withering away.
Yeah, I mean, no food.
No
No
food,
oxygen, no water.
Yeah, I mean, probably a normal person who didn't have some kind of arc reactor in his chest. Maybe, who knows?
And then that first conversation with him and Cap when he got back there, it was very pissy.
Yep, you could still.
Junior wanted nothing.
A lot of tension.
Yeah, Stark wanted nothing to do with Captain at that point. Really blamed his eternal optimism for why they failed.
Yeah, he said, "This is what I knew was coming. I wanted to put a suit of armor around the world."
Speaking of Age of Ultron, and he was like, "Look how that finished." And then he brought back the whole like, if we fail, we fail together. And,
Great job referencing within the past movies.
although at the same time, in Infinity War, Stark did go off by himself. He could have turned that ship around and faced Thanos back on Earth.
Sure, he made a call. He thought that was the
You can't
best
put that all on Captain America. Anyhow, but you do get a very pissed off Stark. But they all lost. I mean, luckily, he's still got Pepper Potts. What's he complaining? He's got his woman.
Yeah. A lot
He
of
lost,
people
the
don't.
kid, Spider-Man, but, I mean, come on. And then you find out that he has a child.
Yeah, so then the 5-year jump happens at that point. So Thanos is gone. The team is devastated to the fact that they were able to kill him, but no stones to be found. Nothing that can be done within reversing the snap at that particular time. So 5 years jumps, and if we really are going in order, that cuts right into Scott Lang.
Sure, right out of the quantum realm.
We see a very filled up storage unit with Scott Lang, actually just the name Lang on it, some signage there, and then you see the van.
What's the cameo of that guy? I forget his name. The security guard who's working there. Kim Jong-il?
That would be one hell of a cameo.
Oh gosh, never mind. I'm sorry, that was a terrible reference. I'll take that all back. Anyhow, it's a good little cameo.
I will not be editing this part out. I want everybody to know that you think a dictator has made it into the Disney movie genre. No, so we get Scott Lang. He really gets out of there by chance,
and he's lost. He has no idea what's going on, and he sees the phone poles. He has no idea what's happening. It's revealed later that 5 years in the quantum realm was only 5 hours. No, 5 years outside of the quantum realm was 5 hours inside the quantum.
Yeah, time works differently in there.
A sweet little reunion of him and his daughter. I think her name is Cassie.
Yep, Cassie. Much older Cassie. Yep.
Yeah, very shocking. When it comes to Scott Lang, he's just blown away about what might have taken place. He's completely lost. He has no idea what's going on until he does, I'm assuming, a bit of research, or somebody tells him what happened, and then he
probably just his daughter.
He drives all the way from San Francisco to New York.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point too, his main goal is he's rambling on over and over again. He finally gets to Avengers headquarters, where
saying that time works differently in the quantum realm. Something can be changed via the quantum realm.
Yeah, and he's trying to explain this to Natasha and Captain America, who are actually in the Avengers headquarters still, saying there might be a way, there has to be a way, and really trying to break down quantum physics for them, which goes in one ear and right out the other. I mean, they're no experts within that realm whatsoever. But
circle back to Tony Stark. They have to ask him. He's the smartest brain alive at this point. And Shuri has also been dusted.
Confirmed dusted. Yep.
Stark later then actually does figure out time travel begrudgingly.
he doesn't want to. He wishes he didn't, but he did. Kind of blown away with his own knowledge at that point. But he knows just deep down after a heavy discussion with Pepper Potts, his lady, that he really has no choice. He's going to do the right thing. He always will. Right. It's within his character. As much as he would like to ignore everything and just live his life out, he just can't. He can't rest until everything is put back the way that it originally was.
Then you go on off and you're getting the team back together. Black Widow goes and finds Rowan. That's a little heartwarming moment. You do get a bit of an action scene with Rowan just slicing through some... were they Japanese gangsters?
Yeah, that seemed to be some Japanese gangsters that
you actually see blood for the first... I feel like one of the first times in Disney.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things that I actually noticed. And now I was thinking, oh yeah, Deadpool will be pretty cool.
Is this rated R, Disney?
This will be all right. Yeah, they actually brought in some blood. I was actually very, very surprised. But you really see him, Ronan character with Clint Barton. He's really slicing and dicing, man. He has no holds barred. He's going after everybody, thinking this is his new job and responsibility to clean up the kind of the filth of the world.
So they go on a time heist, is what they're calling it. There's
Time
a big
heist.
discussion of what actually time travel is. They name drop multiple movies: Terminator, Back to the Future.
You mean Back to the Future was a lie this whole time?
Hot Tub Time Machine, Hot Tub Time
Son of a
Machine 2.
bitch.
And then, so the team is what? Cap, Stark, Black Widow, Hawkeye.
Yeah, Professor
Nebula,
Hulk in there.
Professor Hulk,
Rocket.
War Machine, Rocket, Ant-Man.
Yep.
Was that it?
Yeah, I think so. And at this point in time, they are just testing it out. Before Tony Stark actually arrives, you actually see a funny scene where Ant-Man is doing a trial run, and you see him become a toddler or a teenager, and then an old man, and then a baby,
It is a pretty humorous scene.
and then came back as himself.
That is definitely a positive throughout this whole movie. They do a good job of weaving comedy into a lot of it.
They do a great job. Yeah, and that's something that they've actually been able to do pretty well throughout all these bigger movies like Civil War and Avengers and all the ones that they are together. They do a healthy splash of comedy, which definitely is needed to lighten up some of the moods, especially with what's going on in these movies as of late. So once they actually get Tony Stark to the facility, and he shares with the team, gives Cap back a shield. Mm-hmm. Huge deal. He made it for
That's
him.
in Civil War.
Yep. He gets there. He made this time traveling, almost GPS bracelet, to where you would be able to
Very convenient.
very convenient, where you would be actually able to direct yourself through time to pop out in any really, I guess, area and time that you want, which is very handy. And then it's just a matter of time before they all put on those sweet ass white quantum suits. And they go back, and they all have their own individual missions. So that's something kind of cool. They have to now go through everybody's story to find out when in time everybody had interactions with the stones. So that is where they go and bring in, obviously, multiple movies from the past. Let's try to remember them all. So, Power Stone.
Well, yeah. So
Guardians,
right.
Okay, so they're going to go try to find Peter Quill, when he's going through that.
Yeah,
temple
and
and
originally I thought they were going to go actually to Xandar, and they actually went back to, I forget, Morag, I think the name of the planet was, where Peter actually pulled it out of, still in the orb, in the very beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy. And there's a great scene. So Nebula and War Machine are together.
It's one of my favorites.
And there's a great scene. You get the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy with the song and Peter Quill dancing around, and then you get the outside perspective of Peter Quill just having a terrible voice. You don't hear any music. It is a terrific laugh out loud scene.
Yeah, they do a great job.
The other team is Thor, Fat Thor, and Rocket, Lebowski Thor.
Lebowski Thor.
Referencing the Dark World.
Yep.
Going back to his movie.
Natalie Portman
shows
up.
Must have paid her millions of dollars.
Oh, man, for just a nothing. I mean, she didn't say
She didn't
a word.
even say a
right?
word. Yeah, she was just there.
Just her presence alone, they had to pay her a pretty penny, because I don't think she wanted anything to do
She
with it.
retired from this thing years and years ago.
Yeah, so that was a huge deal. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously pulling the same actors and actresses for all of these scenes.
A lot of
from the
deep
original.
cuts. A lot of deep.
Yeah.
And then you get the big battle in New York, where they say they have 3 stones sitting there: the Mind Stone, the Tesseract, and then the Time Stone with the Ancient One, all in New York. So then, who's that? That's Cap,
Hulk.
Professor Hulk, and Stark, all going on that trip.
Yep.
And
those are fun. Those are fun scenes of
great
them
scenes.
In the facility right after Avengers. I guess that would be actually Avengers Tower, because that's where they finished up that last scene.
Good callbacks to the
Avengers.
original Avengers movie. You get a nice scene with the original Hulk just smashing around, being crazy, and then you get Professor Hulk being like, "Oh, I'm going to do the same thing," just yawning and trying to get into it.
He just thinks it's over the top.
Just can't get into it.
No, he doesn't have
I
that
just
same
don't smash
aggression.
the sim anymore.
Yeah,
you got low T, go see a doctor. You got low gamma?
Yeah, go see a doctor. Here, take 2 of these. Always a reference to take 2 pills. Anyway, so Yeah, a lot of fun scenes going through there. You see Captain America fight himself.
Young Captain America fight himself.
Yeah.
Great callbacks to Winter Soldier. There's a great another elevator scene.
Yeah, that
with
was
Cap and all
that
those
was
guys
great.
surrounding him.
So if you guys all remember within Winter Soldier when Cap is actually in the elevator.
They remember.
Well, yeah, everybody remembers. How insulting. I didn't even mean to say that. I'm a jerk.
How dare you.
I know. So in Winter Soldier, when Cap is in the elevator and he stops the elevator and he goes, all right, are we going to pretty much, you guys ready to fight?
Leia, what's Lance? Like, if anybody wants to get out now,
Yeah, if
before,
anybody
before we
wants
get
to get
started,
out.
does anyone want to get off?
There we go. See, this is why I needed you, Matt. You got the exact line. So it was a huge callback to that, which was great. And instead of that, he whispers in one of the, I believe is that guy a doctor of some
he's
kind?
just a
Or is
high
he just
shield
a
agent at
high
that
shield / really Hydra agent? And he whispers in his ear, "Hail Hydra." And so by the time they let him out of the elevator, they do a little camera view back.
There's also a reference to Captain America being a Hydra agent in the comic books themselves.
Sure, yeah, different
Timeline, if you will.
Yeah, different timeline. Yeah. So that was fun because when they did pan back at the people in the elevator, they were jaw dropped, literally, and that was pretty funny. So
Same thing with Cap fighting his younger self, and being like, and old Cap's about to get choked out by young Cap, and he's just like, Bucky's alive, and he's like, what? He stops. So yeah, same.
Cap has gotten really comfortable in his old age, dropping some curse words too, man. Because that's
tell you
America's
what.
ass right there, and he had no problem complimenting himself. The ego of that guy.
Professor Hulk actually / Bruce Banner has a great conversation with the Ancient One, and how
That's
time,
a cool scene too, man.
and how it's vitally important at the end of this thing where they have to replace the time stones or any stones exactly where they found them, else they will create alternate timelines. That's something they don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of, what she does. The
Just
reason
protecting
why
time.
she holds on to that is, yes, to protect time, to make sure that does not happen. So it was a huge leap of faith for her to actually give that time.
It was cool to see her like protecting the sanctum using her magic, like all the Jatari flying around her, and she does a great job of
Yeah, and that's
little bit scene.
And obviously, those are scenes we never saw before. And this is years before Doctor Strange was even in the picture.
But she already knew about him. What a wise.
Well, she even said
wise
in Doctor
person.
Strange, I've seen my death many of times.
I never see past it,
I never could see past it. So we know she was able to look into the future.
Super wise.
Yeah, and that was a cool
He's
scene.
supposed to be the best of us. And then there's the other really hard scene, the one that I talked about. I don't know, maybe privately, but was it the Vormir trip?
Yeah,
and that was the Ronin / Hawkeye.
And you
Black Widow.
you actually predicted this in our last podcast.
I did, and I forget if it was actually recorded or not. But yes, I thought that this would be the trip for both of them, and one of them would have to sacrifice themselves. My thoughts were going to be towards Hawkeye, and I was wrong. It was Black Widow.
I was hoping there was going to be some like crazy creature that had a soul that they just said, "Oh man, I like this thing."
Or
and
if like
just-
Red Skull was like, clearly you guys love each other, there's no sacrifice, here's the stone. But it's Red Skull.
Yeah, it's Red Skull. Yeah, it was inevitable.
Classic Red Skull.
We
He
couldn't
doesn't
get out of it. I loved the fight scene. Just because
Just trying to kill themselves.
Yeah, they love each other so much. They're trying to sacrifice, themselves for the other person, thinking that one deserves it more than the other. And it's a very felt scene.
Heart-wrenching.
Yeah, and it was definitely one of the scenes where I did at the very end. I teared up a little bit. It's one of those scenes that
The
is
music swells,
Yeah, it's meant to do this to you. It's meant to do this to you. But it was very, very well
Very
done.
cliffhanger of them, like just let go.
Yep. So now.
Literally, they were hanging off a cliff.
Confirming now that this Black Widow movie, or is it a series movie?
I think it's a movie.
So the movie is going to be a prequel. So this is going to be before all of this. This is probably going to be when Miss Romanoff is actually being trained to become an assassin. It's
a good way to translate it into another actress for the character too, because she's been in since Iron Man 2. So she's pretty much been in there since the beginning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting. She definitely is in the movie, so there's probably going to be somebody who's playing a younger version of her, and then pan back to some other times that were a little later on. Like I said earlier, maybe Budapest and some other side missions, maybe a little Clinton Barton action too.
We'll speculate on that later. Yes,
Yeah,
but
all exciting stuff coming out in the future, which is something to look forward to.
But all the same, they do get all the stones, and the only wrinkle is what happened was with the Power Stone, and with Nebula in that same time frame was able to somehow sync up on the same networks as the Nebula in that exact time line.
So unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
So unfortunate.
So the nebula of that timeline syncs up, and Thanos is then able to they're basically able to see inside her computer mind. She can see exactly what they're all seeing. She has pre-recorded memories of
and at that point he said he needed to
his
see
future,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
So she basically is like telling him his future. She a gypsy.
So in that moment he knows he won.
like the gypsy
He
said.
saw himself be killed.
And told himself that he was inevitable. So it's really empowering for him. Like, I am
Smiled
inevitable.
too. Did you see the little smirk? I mean, even when he was seeing himself being held in the video, he smiled when he said he was inevitable. So
within trapping old Nebula with young Nebula, they were able to steal old Nebula's gear when it came to the ability to travel through the quantum realm through time.
Sure. And she went and met up with everybody from their side missions once everybody retrieved their stones.
And Thanos is able to basically see what is happening. So he then formulates that they're collecting the stones for him. All he has to do is be there when all the stones are together. Instead of doing this quest for all the stones around the universe, he knows that they're going to be in the same spot at the same time. So he's then able to, later in the movie...
They could have made that very easy for him.
Right. And they were very close to doing that.
Yes, they were. So they retrieve all the stones, and obviously their first order of business is to go ahead and put those stones in a gauntlet made by Tony Stark. It is very much Iron Man tech.
The Iron Gauntlet.
Yeah, Iron Gauntlet. So all the stones are in place. Everybody's kind of... well, not everybody. I guess Thor is the one kind of... putting his hat in the ring, saying that it should be him. He's a god, and it runs through his veins as lightning. And Bruce Banner / Professor Hulk says, a lot of this is gamma radiation.
Yeah,
it's like I was born for this.
Yeah,
this is like what I was made for.
Yeah.
So he takes it upon himself to actually wear the gauntlet and do the snap. Before he even snaps, you can see that thing is just tearing through his skin. It is burning him all the way up into the neck. It was very difficult for him to even control. It looked like even the process of snapping was a hard thing to do.
Right, because at least in Infinity War, every time Thanos put one into his gauntlet, it didn't have that same effect.
And again, I think that's because the gauntlet that was made within that movie was made from the actual star.
Right,
and within that mystical material,
to be able to hold the Infinity Stones,
be able to harness that power without any of those kind of side effects. But he was able to do the snap.
Yeah.
And Scott Lang was able to kind of look out the window, and all of a sudden he saw a bunch of birds. And remember, it wasn't just people that got wiped out in the snap. It was all living things. So birds, dogs, whatever you want to think about, all of those things were taken out by 50%. So it was an indication that everything was kind of, at least...
Life was back.
Which was a great moment. But as soon as everybody's starting to feel good...
Boom, Thanos attacks. So Thanos jumped through the quantum realm with his full ship. I forget what they call it. Something Destroying 2 or whatever it is. But it has everything
Machine.
he needs. Yeah, this thing is huge.
The thing is ridiculous.
And it rains just ballistic missiles on the Avengers tower right away.
So this was the only scene that I could think of that we saw in the trailer that was from the third act.
Sure, yeah, people like falling and
this is where you saw Ant-Man jumping off the pencil, which is what you speculated before, that this was very much going to be the Avengers headquarters being destroyed. We didn't know when that was going to take place at the time, but now we know.
It's destroyed.
It is very, very much leveled to the ground. So we see them just rain fire down on the headquarters. Everybody luckily surviving.
Yeah.
Nobody died from that.
Yeah, nobody was crushed.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, right. There was a lot of debris.
Thank God for being a superhuman, I guess.
Well, even Rocket was like, I can't breathe, and he wasn't dead, and he's the smallest of them all.
Yeah, still genetically modified.
Fair.
You never know. But anyway, so after that, we see Clint Barton, and he is able to... get up and start kind of moving around, and
that's right, because the gauntlet itself has been knocked around, so the stones are still intact.
Yep, and he actually is the one who comes across the gauntlet.
Yeah.
When he does come across the gauntlet, he's able to pick it up, and then all of a sudden he sees the Shatari. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think those are the...
Or
I call them Rough Riders.
Ravagers?
Rough Riders? Yes. Yeah, something.
Is it Ravagers?
No, that's Guardians.
Oh, gosh, man.
It's something Riders. Anyhow.
Regardless, he has the enemy coming at him, and he definitely does some sweet moves within wielding the bow and the sword, which is new.
Yeah. So, and this whole time, Thanos is back down from his ship, waiting for really the big three Avengers to kind of wander in. So you're going to get a fight between Lebowski Thor, Stark, and Captain America. And the other thing about this scene too is that while Thor and Rocket were in his quote timeline, he was able to actually bring back the hammer.
Yes, yeah, we kind of skipped over that. So when he was actually retrieving the reality stone, that's right, he was able to recall Mormir and actually bring that back with him, which actually turns out, which is why I'm glad you brought it up, in the next coming fight scene into a very big part of it.
Which is pretty dope, because at one point you get Stormbreaker and Mini-Me? Him using them both at the same time. So you just get two very powerful weapons wielded by Lebowski Thor.
Yeah, we see Lebowski Thor actually finally get into his war garb. I think the only difference is he definitely did not get thinner after that happened.
Yeah, there's no magical power to make you in shape again.
No, but did you notice the tie in the beard? The tie in the beard, the little braiding?
Yeah, it's armor.
Yeah, if lightning does anything for me when I get shot by lightning, it just gives me a new hairstyle, which I really enjoy. So at this particular time, Thanos is waiting for the big three, and now
it was a good fight.
It was a great fight.
Fight ensues.
But as we can all guess, and now that this is a spoiler review, as we all know, I should say, is Thanos still whoops their ass.
Still does pretty easily,
and he doesn't have any stones, any gauntlet, but he does have that big double-sided sword, which is apparently a stronger material than even Cap's shield.
He's just a powerful being. He just take a lot of hits.
Powerful being, yeah. So after the back and forth between that battle happens, really it's when Iron Man
everybody's
is
knocked down. Yeah.
Knocked down, Thor is knocked down, and Stormbreaker is actually getting driven into Thor's chest by Thanos.
Right.
At this particular time, what do we see? Something I've been waiting for really Age of Ultron, was the Mormir hammer being thrown, and actually, did they hit Thor out of the way? Is that what it did, or did it just?
I can't remember.
Regardless, you see the hammer go by, and all of a sudden you see it fly back, and it is in Captain America's hand with the shield in the other. Man, I just got goosebumps. Legitimately, look at the hairs.
It's 80 degrees in here.
It is hot. I don't know how this is happening, but it was such a cool scene.
Definitely cheers to the theater.
Yes, that is when the theater absolutely erupted, and rightfully so. It's something that, he's always been, if anybody was going to be worthy, it's going to be Captain America.
Right.
The purest of the pure.
One weapon that has to be worthy.
And then the call out from Thor when he goes, I knew it! And then it's in the middle of the battle. It's just an incredible scene. And seeing him actually wield the hammer.
Like he's done it before.
Dude, he's spinning it. He's actually calling in lightning. He drops one hell of a lightning bolt.
I thought it was just a heavy hammer.
Yeah, I mean, it was just very, very cool to see incorporating certain moves with the actual hammer and the shield.
Still got his ass kicked.
And again, that is just a representation of how powerful Thanos truly, truly is. Now moving forward.
Down and out.
Yeah, so again, it's seeming kind of like this is going to be the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point it's just Captain America standing there with a broken shield, restrapping it back up onto his arm.
And you could see a huge cut within his forearm.
So he's because I think he actually got cut in the leg too. But in that battle.
So by this time he's pretty messed up. But Cap, he always gets up. He can do this all day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we heard that before. I know.
I know. That was also a funny scene. But at this particular point, lo and behold, he gets a transmission in his earpiece, and it is boy Falcon.
Right. On your left.
On your left, which is another callback.
Yeah, right.
From Winter Soldier.
Yeah, right.
So when that happens, he knows that all of his guys are back, and sure enough, you see Doctor Strange's portals. Well, I shouldn't just say his, because a lot of those guys are there from the Sanctum, are all opening up portals, and you know that they're coming in from Titan. So let's just go through those. People coming back from Titan as a recall. Nebula and Tony Stark obviously made it off there in the whole movie. But we got Spider-Man, who was dusted.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, Spider-Man, all the
Guardians. So we got Drax back.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange comes through. Spider-Man, goes up to Iron Man during the battle once he actually does come back and
Black
goes,
Panther.
I woke up and you were gone, and I don't know what happened. And the wizard, Doctor Strange, was able to get us back. You see Black Panther come back through Wakanda, and all of those tribe members that were able to come back and actually help.
Yeah, I don't know if Juan was actually dusted, but he brings all of his army with him too, all the other magical beings.
Yeah, that's right, because the last time we actually saw Wong was just in the very beginning of Infinity War, where he said somebody has to protect the sanctum.
You never know if he found out if he was dusted. But yeah, he's there with all of his army. Valkyrie...
riding
who
her
was
Pegasus,
alive, but came back with Asgardians. I'm assuming whoever was willing to fight.
Yeah. At that point, it's anybody and everybody.
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch, and man, did she come back with fury!
She came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, she was.
She nearly took out Thanos single-handedly.
Yep, and that is the point where he just decides to rain fire again, while he's being told by his children of Thanos. What is that, Maud? Mm-hmm. That, that's going to kill all of our troops, too. And he doesn't care because he's getting his ass kicked by Scarlet Witch. He's about to be killed. So they decide to rain fire down on the fighting ground. And sure enough, everybody's getting hit. You see a lot of the mystical arts people putting up shields and blocking as many people as they can. But all of a sudden, you see the weapons from the ship all of a sudden go from down, pointing at the ground, to shooting up into the sky, which lights up the sky. And you guys know at this particular point who's coming through. Somebody who hasn't really even been in the movie until the
U.S. Army.
25 minutes of the movie. Captain Marvel. Wow. And man, does she just love going through ships like butter. It's one of her favorite things. Makes her sizzle. She likes it. Gets her going, man.
Just destroys Thanos'
just
ship.
Goes through it effortlessly again. And eventually, and we'll touch base on this, obviously, the further we go down into these podcasts, but there's got to be some kind of Achilles heel for her later down the line. But in this movie...
punch for the Power Stone.
Yeah, in this movie, she comes in, destroys the ship, which obviously helps out a ton. And then she goes right for Thanos.
Yeah, somehow I think Thanos is close to the Infinity Gauntlet at this point. And
at this point, it was being dragged around, right? So we started off with Ronan, and then all of a sudden it got taken by, I think, Spider-Man, and then it gets tossed. Spider-Man goes on to Valkyrie, and then all of a sudden...
Paltrow's Rescue is
Rescue's grabbing Spider-Man, and then all of a sudden it ends up with Black Panther, and then from Black Panther...
That was a cool run scene.
It's on the ground.
He's a Panther.
So then it's a fight for the glove, the gauntlet. And Thanos is very, very close to it. In comes Captain Marvel, giving it her best shot. She's a powerful being.
She's a powerful being. She's like just smiling the whole time.
Yeah, but even against him, I mean, he could tell her power, but he is still very, very strong.
Well, and it's smart. Again, ripping out the Power Stone.
Ripping out the Power Stone to put it in the other hand to be able to use that effectively to blow her kind of out of that area to then retrieve the gauntlet again. He's a fighter and a survivor, so he does anything within his means to do just that.
And then it gets dark. Well,
then you get the look. And then you get the look between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. And earlier in the scene, in the battle, he said, hey, Tony Stark says to Doctor Strange, out of all the 14 million scenarios, is this the one that we win? And he says what?
I can't tell you, else it won't happen.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Which I'm sure frustrated the hell out of Tony Stark. I mean, obviously the man who wants to know everything. But regardless, they make eye contact with each other. He puts up the single finger, pointer finger, symbolizing...
Puts up the middle finger, says, do it your fucking self.
Fuck off, Tony Stark. You would think from their last actual interaction in Infinity War that would come out. But no, you could tell he's saying this is it. This is the one chance. And this is where Tony Stark takes it upon himself to go ahead and...
steal the stones.
Yeah, he bum rushes Thanos, and he goes right up close to him, and as Thanos thinks that he won and actually does the snap...
Nothing happens. It's just a great snap.
Turns the gauntlet around.
It's like a poetic thing.
It is.
Great poem.
Turns the gauntlet around, and there are no stones. And they pan over to Iron Man, where his new tech is coming out, and it seems to be even a newer gauntlet, where he's able to harness the stones. And man, that is a heavy scene. Yeah, that is a heavy scene, and his finishing line is "I am Iron Man," which is beautiful. Very, very, very beautiful. I couldn't have done it any better.
Would have been also pretty broke. Is just like, fuck you.
And that would be a very Tony Stark thing to say.
Just another one bites the dust. Snap.
Again, why I always wanted an Iron Man Deadpool set up. And having those F-bombs dropped within an Iron Man movie would have been just fantastic.
Tony would have been cursing like a sailor.
He would have been cursing like a sailor. So Tony was able to do the snap. And like you said, actually, when we were talking earlier, the control that you have when you can snap.
Yeah, I was confused about that. I guess all you have to do is like a genie. Just like think about what you want.
Make 3 wishes, Matt.
Yeah, right. There was only 3 snaps.
Yeah. So he was able to really just think of all of the
Thanos' army.
Thanos' army and Thanos to be dusted.
Yeah.
Poetic justice. Mm-hmm. You know? But as we all know, the snap messed up Thanos, and as powerful as he is, Tony Stark is nowhere near close to that strength.
No.
So we knew once he did that snap...
Without an inappropriate gauntlet on, too.
We knew that was the end for Tony Stark. You see a very heartfelt moment of him and Peter Parker. Peter Parker really kind of just saying his goodbyes, saying that they did it, they won, they accomplished it. And then Pepper Potts.
I was fine with. The Pepper Potts one really got me. I was hoping there was going to be another Captain America at least saying something, but it was all about Peter and Pepper at that point.
Yeah, and Pepper saying, now it's time to rest.
Yeah.
We're good.
Take a sleep.
You did what you needed to do. You protected us. You brought everybody back.
You did your job.
Yep. Go ahead and rest. Skipping on to the very, very end, we see Tony Stark's funeral. Mm-hmm. We see a panning of the camera. And
pretty much all the main characters.
We see all the main characters, all the groups, right? So they're all grouped together within where their movies actually fell. Maybe not within the sequence of where they're actually standing, but they're all within their group. So Guardians are with each other and so forth and so
Scott
forth.
Lang, Hank Pym.
Scott Lang's with his peeps and everybody else. So
you get kind of the pan of Marvel and Fury's back. It's the first time you see Fury in all this.
Now, for anybody who saw the young boy towards the end, while they were leading towards the back porch, there was a 12, 13, 14, whatever, teenage boy standing by himself. Now, this is a callback to Iron Man 3.
Lingerers, man.
Lingerers. These guys just linger. This is Iron Man 3 when the child in the shed was able to, who was also an engineer, was able to assist Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And really kind of...
He's an accountant.
In that movie, he has post-traumatic stress disorder, and actually, from all of his past battles, Tony Stark did. And the kid was actually... got him on the right track in that movie.
It was another just callback.
It was another callback, but again, this guy's a total tech genius for his age, and you never know if that's going to play, in the upcoming movies in the future, which would be kind of exciting, and at least a character that we've now seen as a little development, and somebody who had a direct relationship with Tony Stark himself.
So the only thing, that's kind of Stark's arc from beginning to end.
Correct.
And then you get the Captain America scene, which I actually wish they did go into a little bit more. Not in the realm of, I get what Captain America did with, staying back in time. I actually was kind of wishing you would get brief scenes of him dropping off the Infinity Stones again.
Me too.
I mean, I guess you're assuming he just, it was
but
all,
at that
he
point,
did it correctly.
At that point, as the audience members, aren't we just hoping for just more?
True. It is.
We know it's coming to an end.
I guess at least the one I wouldn't have mind seeing was with the Ancient One. I wish she would have gone back and he would have had a brief interaction with her to be like, we did it.
Possibly even setting up a Doctor Strange 2 would have been kind of a cool thing to do.
A cool way to do. So that's maybe the only one I would have liked a brief interaction. We didn't get it. But then, you felt that it was inevitable that he was going to be staying back in time.
Sure. Yep. So at the end of the movie, he Captain America's, main job is to now go back in time and return all the stones back to its time and, time and time to make sure that there is no fall off within the
but you will get one from Loki.
Yeah, that's right. Loki did take the Space Stone.
He's gone,
and so that's
now an alternate timeline.
That's an alternate timeline.
That's a Disney Plus show.
That is a Disney Plus show. Yes. So anyway, Cap goes back into back into the past, returns all the stones, and as we all kind of thought, he stayed back with Peggy Carter and finally got his dance. Mm-hmm. Finally got his dance, which was a great closure to his story as well. We see him older and, surprisingly enough, giving up his shield to Falcon. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure it was going to be Bucky. He is an altered human being who's, an enhanced human being who's very, very strong
with a metal arm.
Yeah, that you would think that he would get the shield and become the new kind of Captain America going forward, but that did not happen, which is fine.
But it also did feel like it set up their Disney show.
Sure.
That Falcon, Winter Soldier show.
Falcon Winter Soldier, yep, which is also another confirmed Disney Plus show that is coming. So they did a good job. They really, they didn't give us much what's going to happen next.
We're going to get the Guardians and Thor. Again, that was a nice kind of fun
scene
at the end. Yep. You see Thor give queenship to Valkyrie. over their small population of Asgardians. I wonder how Norway's okay with that, right? Like, you guys feel like an alien invaders here.
I feel like all he has to do is put like Stormbreaker in the sky and just like have a lightning bolt shoot down. And they're like, "You're good."
Yeah, right. You guys can have this whole northern territory.
The
If you
fish
want more,
in
we'll
this
give it to
cove,
you. Yeah, right.
you're good, man. They're all your fish.
But yeah, you do get a Valkyrie being like, "Where are you going to go?"
It's the
next?
most excited movie that that is the one I'm excited about most.
Right, out of what the upcoming movies are going to be.
Yeah.
So
that really closes that out. I mean, it was a brilliantly made movie. I will be seeing it again in theaters. I'm sure there are things that we missed. There was a lot of detail within those 3 hours, but an incredible movie.
Right.
Incredible movie. Now, before we actually close out, we're going to be talking about nitpicks, and I don't have a lot of them.
No, not a lot at all.
By any means. Again, very little complaints on my end. But there are some things that I didn't notice until we actually sat down afterwards and we were trying to decompress from this long, emotional movie that all of a sudden...
Again, exhausting.
Yeah, which was your word at the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah, at least you hold true. What would be your biggest one?
I would still say that I wish there was actually more action in it.
Agreed.
I get that there was a lot of character stuff that they had to do, and they had to do a lot already. And I don't have the right answer. I can't say where you could plug in any more bit of action. But I wish there was just a touch more. I mean, it's
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of the action sequences that we do see are going to be from the past. The Battle of New York. We're seeing again the wreckage from Hulk. It's very little. I mean,
you get the Captain America against Captain America, which is pretty brief, but pretty brief.
Yep.
You get Rowan running through the streets, slicing up people, but again, that's even kind of from afar. You only see a little bit of Rowan actually sword fighting.
Again, a lot of storytelling.
You don't get any of the Black Widow doing any training montage. You don't get any of that from the trailers.
No, yeah, which is just, we saw that her at the firing range in the trailer.
Yeah, so you don't get any action from her. No flips and kicks from her, right?
Other than her fighting Clint Barton, that was it.
Right.
And that was a 5 to 6, 7 minute scene.
Yeah, right. That was it.
So, I mean, it was as fun as it was.
And then, so you get the brief. They go and kill Thanos, which is they just go and kill Thanos.
Yep.
And then the end set piece, which was amazing, which was probably what they were just building towards. And again, I don't know where to plug it in. That's just it's a nitpick. I wish there was this. I was enthralled and engaged. I don't know where else you could have done a little bit of
I'm going to go ahead and just agree with you 100%. I think that's really my only nitpick. Yeah, I as of right now, I can't think of any other things that I wish that it had or which it didn't have. Obviously, within this being a superhero movie, that's what you hope for, right? Mm-hmm. A little more action, seeing these guys fight enemies, and
I wouldn't mind a little more love towards who they actually did lose, Black Widow and Vision. They mention Bridge. I mean, and having Scarlet Witch come in and just really be pissed at Thanos and almost kill him.
See the passion.
That was you could definitely see it, but it was nothing like at Tony Stark's funeral. All you saw was Tony Stark's, and again, you want to play off that character and that actor and say goodbye to him. But they did kill off other characters in this. Hell, I mean, you even get Gamora back, who you thought was going to be one officially. Loki's back, who you thought. So the three characters they officially killed off: Stark, Vision, and Black Widow. Even though she's getting a quote prequel, Scarlett Johansson herself is gone. So I wish a little more love towards that. Maybe just a picture or something. Somebody's holding a picture of Black Widow or a picture of Vision at Tony Stark's funeral. Would have been nice, but
sure, yeah, because he was the only one that was kind of celebrated within life.
Yeah, again, that's great for Robert Downey Jr.
Sure.
It will be interesting going forward if you do see a splash of Captain America and things, since he's technically not dead.
No, and you have to imagine, since he did live his life, he still had the super serum. So even though he lived his life back with Peggy, through all his life within that time, he very much was still Captain America.
Which has got to be a confusing thing for Peggy. I mean, imagine, because you're in the same timeline, so he's still watching a young Captain America be pulled out of the ice, watching the Battle of New York, watching these things that even as...
He's on the sideline.
Yeah, you can't do anything.
No,
you can't engage.
Yeah.
Else, your timeline would know about you. Very confusing what he actually did.
Yeah, the only reason his battle between himself, his younger self, worked is because he thought it was Loki.
Right.
The perception of him being him wasn't there.
Right.
He thought it was just Loki playing another trick on him.
until he called out Bucky.
Until he said, hey,
And
Bucky
use the Mind
just
Stone
to
against
distract him, use the Mind Stone to get him down. All right, well, a lot we went over, but man, was that fun.
Yeah, no, and I'm excited to watch it again. Well, I mean, I don't know how many times I can watch a 3-hour movies. I probably won't have too much trouble doing it, but, I just got to find the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody who wants to leave any comments or has any critiques or, well, actually, keep the critiques.
I'm not going to read it.
I'm not going to read any of those. No. But if anybody has any comments or anything that they would like us to start actually maybe even talking about in one of our shows, please feel free to. We have a Twitter page at What's the Focus. You'll find us there. Yeah, we're on Twitter, man. We're on Twitter with all the big leaguers. And we also are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, which is all brought to you by Anchor, which is from the beginning. So, pretty great platform.
And you can see us in person nowhere.
Yeah, you can't see me anywhere, man. I'm incognito. Yeah, you don't know where I'm at. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it.
No, we're on nowhere. It's the planet.
Yeah, nowhere.
We're with the collector. We're actually just in a box.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. So cramped. So hot. 85. Anyway, thank you again. This is WTF What's the Focus Radio Podcast,
Later,
episode
dudes and
5.
dudettes.
Later.
Dunkin' has a whole new line of handcrafted signature lattes. Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, and Cocoa Mocha. They're so delicious, you'll realize that you've been spending a whole latte time drinking the wrong coffee. So even though you've been together for years, it's time to say goodbye to your ex, Coffee Place. Because you've got a latte love for Dunkin's signature lattes. Sipping is believing with Dunkin's new handcrafted signature lattes, like Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, or Cocoa Mocha. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary, limited time offer. Dunkin' has a whole new line of handcrafted signature lattes, Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, and Cocoa Mocha. They're so delicious, you'll realize that you've been spending a whole latte time drinking the wrong coffee. So even though you've been together for years, it's time to say goodbye to your ex, Coffee Place. Because you've got a latte love for Dunkin's signature lattes. Sipping is believing with Dunkin's new handcrafted signature lattes, like Blueberry Crisp, Caramel Craze, or Cocoa Mocha. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary, limited time offer.